Welcome to another episode. This time we look at Linux Unix file permission, users, groups and others. This Linux Unix has a very robust security system on file permission and how they can be accessed by users, and users are then grouped into groups, and what is that which will be applicable to others if they have to access any of the file, whether they can have a read, write or execute. Those are the three privileges, and these three privileges will vary depending upon the file settings. So we'll look at that, and as a matter of fact, similar kind of a setup is what is now you'll see in the cloud infrastructure as well. It's called as identity access management. So if you are having good knowledge here on the Linux Unix, then it is far more easier to understand identity access management in any of the cloud environment, be it Oracle, be it AWS, Google Cloud or Azure. So have a focus on this and have an understanding, so that not only you use it in Linux Unix, but you could maybe use it in the cloud infrastructure also, but there could be small minor changes depending upon the service provider. So this is the directory structure. In generally in Linux Unix, you have the root, under which you have different directory. Most of them, except for your home directory, most of them will be only accessed by the system admin, but not by the user. Even though they are technical folks, they might not be able to access the folders like var, sbin, kernel. All this they might not use. Only the home directory they'll be might be able to access. But nevertheless, this is just information to know about. This is how the directory structure will look like. So moving on. So when you do any kind of say for example, if this is a file by name in the directory is test1, when you pass that command ls-l, this will be the output over here. That is, you will have something like the character shown here. So first three will be the first one. This one is whether it is a directory or file, the first character. So this one is a file. So because otherwise you'll have a D over here. The next three is for the user, user, then it comes to the group. Again, point note here is groups might have multiple users. So user is what is then clubbed together as groups, and what is for the then comes the last three is the others. So if you look at it, for the user it is read, write, executable is not there, and for the group it is just the read only, and for the others also it is only read only. So you got to take the leaving out the first character which represent the directory or not. The next three is read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute, and the next one is the owner group, of course, the number of bytes and the dates. So again, that is what is provided over here: read, write, execute, no permission. So this is quite important to understand, and this is if we go in the next slide, you will understand. You need to have it ones and zeros is what has been denoted. So as discussed, user who owns the file as the owner, then comes the group, permission used by members of the group that own the file. Members, you create the group, you create a file, but still you belong to a group, and that group can have multiple users. Say for example, if you are a developer, maybe developer 1, developer 2, developer 3, by name you can have different developers, and all developers by name or grouped under developer. And similarly, if there are going to be managers, then could be different named managers, and then to the group it could be managers. Others could be like whether a developer, a person from a developer, he has created the file, then his fellow developer could view it, but manager, he might not be allowed to view it, or vice versa. Manager might have a confidential information, only his fellow managers should access it, not the developers. So in that case, the others, because it is all classified, if you have manager as one group and developer as one group, so whatever is for the manager group, those records should not be viewed by others. Others meaning even the developers. So that's the permission, and it is all in the octal. So that's where 111 in octal format. Binaries, it is 111, generally denoted as 7. So 777, if you give, that's a common permission. You use the change mode. 777 meaning all will have read, write, and execute. Execute is possible. Read, write, execute. So if it is just read, write, then it is 6. Then if it is just read, you will find it 100, that is 4 read, and similarly only write, then it is 2. Execute is 1 because the last character is 1. So if you understand the binary system, that is how it is represented. 0, then you have no access, that is 0. Then 1 is executable, 2 is write, 3 is write execute, and 4 is read, 5 is read and execute, 6 is read write, and 7 is read write execute. So that's about the permission. You can use the change command to change the permission. So this is just if you have a gist of it, if you have understanding, yes, we'll just get into the demo where you will understand better. Let's now look at some of the hands-on on the file permission creation of the user groups and so on. So ls, if you're aware, ls-l gives you all the files, and pwd is the present working directory. And we'll take an example like this is a kind of a SQL file, and it's a file, whereas in case of directory you have a D over here. In case of a file, the first one is just blank or hyphen. Then it has a read, write, execute. It doesn't have an execute, read, write, and again this is execute. That is for the group, and finally for the others. Suppose if I want to revoke the entire permission, so then I do a change mode. Now if I do, so now change mode is made it, the others cannot view it. So so again, if I do a change mode, others users, nobody can view it. So that's where it says, when I do a can, it says permission denied. So let's do a change mode 777 and dname dot SQL. So that means users, then groups, as well as the others will have all the read, write, and execute privileges. Now if I do ls-l dname dot SQL, it has everything. So similarly, if I do a cat, the entire junk, all junk characters, whatever is there in the file, that gets displayed. So let me cancel it. Let's now add an user. So sudo user add, I'll say student 1. So this is for adding an user. So this is added. So and again, I just want to create a password for student 1, which is oops. So again to okay, that's wrong. Now I have created a user by student, and that is the command, and that is sudo user add student1, and then the password, that is password you need to type it again. There are conditions that one character should be capital and it should be 8 to 12 in length, and so conditions are there. So once it's satisfied, you have a password. Then you have to you can add the student to the group. Let's add first a group, sudo group add students, so this is for adding the group. So group is added. Now that we have created the user as well as the group, let's now add the user to the group. So to do that, sudo user mod -a -g, you give the group name, that is students, then it's student1 is what we had created. So we are adding student1 to the student group. So now that is done. Now let me show you some more information. So pwd, I'm in home OPC directly currently. So as you know, who am I will always return the user. So OPC. Now let me do a change directory, and then do an ls -l. You find a OPC user, and again there is also a student. When we created student1 user, so it has created another folder over here. So now I'm in OPC. Now can you make a guess? I mean, can I get into the student folder? So let's try that. If I say change directory, actually, because if you understand all the concept regarding the privileges of user, that is, or a owner, and then the group and others. So ideally, when you do change directory student1, it should deny the permission, because who am I is OPC. So you cannot go into the student folder. Only as a student1 you can get into that folder. Now let me switch the user and see whether I'm able to. That is, the command is su switch user, then student1, got to give the password. So now I have switched user. So switched user to student1 and gave the password. Now if I look as the present working directory, it's still home, and who am I will return student1. I have come into this directory. So now if I say change student1, so it should go into that directory. So I have no problem in getting into that directory. If I just create a file, touch ABC, I should be able to create that file as well. So here you can do a change mode. So now if I say home directory change OPC, it is again, because the OPC is a user, and similarly student 1 is a again an user. You cannot go into the OPC. That way, again, as I said, the Unix being kind of a server, so you can always, logically separate the users, and you can make as I said, no, it is if it is between the student and faculty having some confidential information about the marks, then they can always restrict the access to the student. And similarly between the developers and manager, whatever may be the reason, with the existing structure of Linux, which offers all this concept of the user, groups, others, and along with the privileges of read, write, and executable, you can always ensure that there is appropriate privileges for specific user to access the folder. One more point which you need to understand is that where this information is stored. So when you create the user groups, where does it get stored? It's in the folder etc, and again if you're a user who has been created, because generally this work is done by, as I said, it's all the Linux or Unix is used more as a server. So naturally there is going to be system administrators. They are going to create the users groups and all. So you will not know, you will not have access to all the folders, system admin related folders. It is only the folder which you work on, which is provided by either by the system or by the system admin. So to access those files, you need to go to the root directory, and generally you will not have you will not have access to that, but just for reference and just for your own understanding, I am doing this. So etc for user, it is a file name called password, which gives all the user details. So say for example, we have created student, home student is what it has already created a folder. That's where you are seeing it. So, and again, if it is the groups, there is again there is a file called etc groups, and etc is a folder and group is a file name. So there you will see students is a group. Underneath you will have the student one. There is other concept like UID, GID, and I'm not going into the details of it, but just for understanding, yes, it has a logical segregations of users, groups, and others. Then based on the access conditions or privileges you provide, you can have logical separation between multiple users who are accessing the system, and the system administrator who is going to control and manage the entire Linux Unix system. I hope by now you have a good understanding of how this works, and please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.